Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's another day, just trying to live my life. And today I just wanted to go over porn. I wanted to go over the benefits of stopping and why ultimately quitting cold turkey is the best way to go. You know, a lot of times we say, oh, we'll taper off. You know, we'll do once a week, we do 2 times a week, this and that. And, you know, we just end up continuing those patterns. Quitting altogether cold turkey is the best way to go, because you're just going to keep going back. You're going to keep being tempted and you're not going to make any progress. And, you know, for as long as I can remember, porn is something that's been holding me back. And, you know, I've been going to it for comfort, and I've been going to it for as long as I can remember. And there's no benefits to continuing to do it. You know, it just keeps us at that low frequency, keeps us at that low vibration, and we don't make any progress with ourselves. And, you know, when you stop, you know, you realize what you really are capable of, and you realize how much time you really have wasted, you know, wasting countless hours on that shit when you could have been using that time elsewhere. You know, for me, it's something that I never knew how to stop, and was such a big problem that it was probably one of my biggest addictions that I've overcame. You know, I've overcome a lot of stuff, but my lust addiction, that was by far one of the hardest things to get rid of. And, you know, if I would have known before the benefits to stopping, I would have done this shit a long time ago. And, you know, lots of times, you know, we put ourselves in situations that we shouldn't even be in because we can't continue something so simple as being addicted to porn. And, you know, it's affecting marriages, it's affecting relationships all over and shit like that. And, you know, it's highly unnecessary, you know, because for me, I'm not gonna lie, you know, I've been, you know, unfaithful, and it's a problem that caused nothing but toxicity, nothing but drama in my relationship. And, you know, if I would have stopped doing that shit a long time ago, you know, my relationship would have been much healthier by now. But, you know, I chose to continue making these bad decisions, you know, being addicted to lust, not getting the help that, you know, I desperately needed. And, you know, it really is a game changer when you stop, because not only do you realize that, you know, you're able to do more, you know, creativity wise, like you realize you're not using all that time, you know, wasting it lusting over other women, over watching porn all the damn time. And, you know, it's really something that we just continue to do that just holds us back. And not only is it holding us men back, but it's fucking up masculinity all over the road. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was so hooked to porn, I ended up getting involved in the sex industry. And, you know, I still regret that shit to this day. You know, last thing I want to do is get my girl involved in that shit. But, you know, I realized that shit's easy money, you know, because she didn't even have to flirt with these dudes. You know, we can just make money just by humiliating dudes, by talking shit to them. And, you know, she didn't even have to go full-blown, you know, nude or whatnot. And, you know, that made it easier for me to accept for, okay, you know, I ain't have a problem with it, because, you know, half the time she's not even talking nice to these dudes and shit like that. So seeing how these dudes were, like, really got me thinking about myself. It was like, damn, you know, I thought I had some shit that I was ashamed of, but these dudes on a whole other level. And it made me realize, yo, this shit's really a deep-rooted issue, you know. And it made me get down to the bottom of my deep-rooted issue. And, you know, porn is just something that I was going to for comfort, you know, and something that I used to help cope with my depression. You know, whenever I was in a bad mood, whenever I was in a sad mood, mopey mood, whatever the case may be, porn was always there. And, you know, that temptation is always going to be knocking at your door. And it's really hard to avoid, you know, because temptation is everywhere. And, you know, that's exactly what the devil wants. But, you know, I won't be where I'm at now if it wasn't for the Most High. So I got to give all praise to him. But, you know, realize the benefits to stopping and stuff like that, and realize that, you know, I don't want to keep living a sinful life. I don't want to keep making these decisions and, you know, being unfaithful. And, you know, my addiction got so bad that, you know, I was even paying for, you know, sex workers online and shit like that. And, you know, honestly, I'm ashamed to say it. Even saying it out loud, you know, I'm ashamed to say it. You know, it's not a place that I wanted to be, but you know, here I am. But I realized, you know, the benefits there are to stopping, and I realized how much healthier it can make your relationship, how much healthier it can just make you in general just by stopping. There's so much benefits, you know, even while you're like watching porn and stuff like that, you don't even realize how it can make you more confrontational. It can make you more dramatic. It can make you in a lower vibration, you know, being mopey, depressed, or whatever like that. The more and more you feed into fapping your shit away, the more depressed you get, and it's not helping. And I realized, you know, my mind is much more clearer with stopping. You know, I have so much more clarity. I'm more in control of my thoughts. I'm more in control of my urges. I'm more in control of the way I handle things. Because before, you know, when it came to handle adversity, you know, I cracked. You know, I cracked under pressure. And, you know, I even self-sabotage on a whole other level that I'm not even so proud of. And, you know, my story, you know, down below, I share my story on how it helped me, you know, discover myself and really get down to the bottom of my deep-rooted issue, and ultimately was able to help me conquer lust. And, you know, I also have a community down below if anybody's interested, you know, because it's time us men, we hold ourselves accountable. And, you know, it will be a good gesture for your wife, your girlfriend. You know, she sees, okay, you taking this shit serious, you know, you taking this to the point where you want to take action, and you want to make better decisions, not only for yourself, but for your relationship, for your marriage. And it'll only do wonders for you by stopping. And, you know, all that time wasted, you can just use for your loved ones. You can really use that energy elsewhere, and it can really give you more of a sense of commitment with her, and more, you know, being able to bond in a better way. And, you know, I just don't want people making the same mistakes that I made, you know, where you self-sabotage on a whole other level, or you constantly are getting caught up, you know, because that shit's always, you know, the more and more you do that shit, the more and more you're going to get caught. And it's eventually you're going to get caught, and you're going to get caught up, and you're going to be up in this toxic ass situation. And then you're just going to be wishing that you made the changes way before. And, you know, I just wanted to let men out there know that there is hope. There is a way to change, and there is a way to make better decisions, and there is a way to stop. And like I said, it's all about getting to the bottom of that deep-rooted issue. Because once you do that, then the rest is history. And, you know, I just want to keep a good message going, because I realize, you know, how much time I've wasted, how much I hurt my relationship by just being addicted to porn, lust, you know, following women on IG, whatever the case may be, and it did no wonders for me. And, you know, I don't want people making the same mistakes that I made. So I feel like, you know, if I can share my story, what helped me, I feel like it can help y'all. So if I can just help one person, you know, I'll be happy. But, you know, till next time, I'll see y'all. Salute.